Hello, world. Welcome to 70s music.
Yes, we're about to confuse you fully. Alright, so I'll try to explain this as best I can based on that sentence you see behind us. We have a top 10 list of 70s songs. Why? Because I didn't want to leave those songs out that our top 100 artists did. We've just went through all our top 100 artists that also had hits in the 70s.
Yeah, so this isn't quite fair
Okay, what?
because there's artists that we like that were just 70s that could be on the list. But we're
You mean
not-
just 80s?
no, it's 70s. Like they're probably
I
artists.
see what
They're
you're
probably songs better than our list
Yes.
from the 70s.
We won't
but they're not
include-
gonna happen because
We
if
won't include anybody
that we haven't done.
outside of our top 100,
Yes.
unfortunately. So you won't see Pink Floyd because they didn't make our top 100. So every artist on our top 100 list pulled out their 70 songs that ranked the highest, and that's what we.
But even not just that. I'm talking like Ambrosia.
Oh yeah.
They could be on there. They
I know.
had 3 good hits,
Yes.
but they weren't in the 80s.
I know.
So
Yeah. So anyways, it's whittled down just to our top 100, pulling out their 1970 songs because they didn't get a chance at our decade lists because they weren't 1980 songs. So let's just take a look at what our 70 songs are. First, we're going to do exactly how we did it before. The top 10 in the world's mind based on how many times they sat at number 1 during the 70s. So let's go through that list first.
all right, this is
Number 1.
amazing because it's probably the slowest song on the list. Maybe
Maybe.
"You Light Up My Life."
10 weeks.
10 weeks. And I
At
remember it
number
being on the
one.
radio. But by Debbie Boone.
Yes.
Okay.
So that alone could explain why 80s
She
music.
related. Is she related to Daniel?
No,
How about Pat?
Pat Boone maybe. But I mean, that's why right there shows you why the 80s is definitely
Better than the 70s.
Okay, number 2.
Now, did they even have a classic station back then? In the 70s? Because our classic station is
No.
70s.
Right. I don't know.
So I don't know what
How
they're
many years have to pass before you can get on that?
Well, okay, it's actually FM. When did that start going? Because when we were young, we did listen to AM.
True.
So
It's true.
I don't know.
Well, the movie FM came out in 1979.
Speaking of the movie, FM was the very first movie of Martin Mull, who just passed away.
That's right. Had to get that in there.
Yes, yeah. And that also features a song from Steely Dan, who is also not in our top 100. All right. The second one is Night Fever from the Bee Gees.
So that one has a chance. No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
We know Tragedy was our number 1.
But that was 8 weeks, and then of course that is because of the movie Saturday Night Fever.
Right.
The third one, Tonight's the Night,
By Rod
Rod
Stewart.
Stewart.
Which technically could be 2.
This is tied actually because
It's tied, but
it's 8 weeks.
I really think the Bee Gees probably was way more popular. So that's
Yeah,
why
and this
it's on
one
the
was
list.
slower too, and I think after we talked about it, I didn't know that. But tonight's the night is supposedly the first time we're gonna do it, right? Yeah, tonight's the night. So, fourth one is Andy Gibb. So, not quite Bee Gees, but what do you call it? It goes like a lateral move. So it's their youngest
So-
brother.
Twice removed.
Twice, and he died early.
Did we
Yeah,
ever
very
discuss why he didn't make the Bee Gees?
No, we didn't.
Why? They said, you gotta get in here.
His song is called Shadow Dancing. Gotta get dancing in there and get the Bee Gees right
I've
there.
never heard of shadow dancing, but I've heard of shadow boxing.
Okay.
Okay, next.
The fifth one is Bridge Over Troubled Waters. Spent 6 weeks. Shadow Dancing was 7 weeks. 6 weeks at number 1.
That's
Simon and Garfunkel.
So are you sure that one's not slower than You Light Up My Life?
What would the other bridge be over? Still Waters? Like Like you look down, you're like, oh, this bridge. Look at this guy. Look, there's a it's
Troubled waters.
it's whitewater rafting. It's that kind of river. Yeah, but it's troubled waters. The water's having trouble going downstream. I don't know. All right, number 6 is Le Freak by Cheek. What is it?
It's chic.
Chic. Okay.
Why do you spell it that way?
Anyways, yeah.
In case you didn't know, Tony Thompson was their drummer.
Yes, from the power station. And Tony, I don't know if we mentioned this, but Tony Thompson and Robert Palmer died the same year. Robert Palmer first.
Yep.
Okay, so these next ones, which I said, Bridge Over Tribal Water, Le Freak, and the next one is My Sharona. The last 5 really are tied with 6 weeks each. My Sharona is next from the Knack.
And they did not have very many hits. I listened to all their hits.
Okay.
Their
This
very
is the only
next...
one, this is the only one you recognize?
Yes, and the very next song, I forget what it's called, sounds exactly like it. I mean, literally, same beat and everything. So, that's why they didn't make it. However, they did get the privilege of having a parody from Weird Al.
Yeah, My Bologna. Number 7, first time ever I saw your face. Is that grammatically correct?
No.
Is that Roberta Flack?
Could she have changed it to be grammatic? Maybe the way you sing it
Yeah,
has to be this way, or it doesn't flow.
It might be grammatically correct. Just it's, Yoda speak is what I'm thinking.
Right.
All right, number 9, Joy to the World.
And not the Christmas
Yes,
song.
not the Christmas song. This was Three Dog Night, which is Jeremiah was a bullfrog.
Oh, yeah.
Ba-dum-dum. Was a good friend of mine. Why are you having bullfrogs as friends? All right, and the number 10th song is 3 songs that were tied. Tied at 5 weeks each. Maggie May,
So
Rod Stewart,
made it
so
twice.
he could have had 2 songs. And Silly Love Songs from Paul McCartney.
Or the Wings. Was
The
was
Wings,
his
yeah.
name or the Wings?
Paul McCartney and the Wings.
Okay.
What's wrong with that? And I'll Be There, the Jackson 5.
Which was not on our Michael Jackson list because we didn't delve that far back into his
Yeah,
history.
no, we started with
Just his
the
solo.
album right before Off the Wall. I don't remember the title of it.
Me neither. Even though he
And
he did have songs before
I
that.
listened to all his albums, and I don't know if I said Bad was better than Dangerous, but I think Dangerous might beat it. I like the songs on Dangerous.
He got more creative. I think.
Yeah, and well, we probably said we like Thriller the best, although that has the least amount of songs out of those 3 albums.
Yeah, but those are, to me, I think they all were bigger hits, but the next album was more creative.
Yeah.
All right, so that's our top. That was their top 10. Any of those making our list?
No.
Okay. All right, now let me just tell you, out of all our videos we've done, we have had 14 number ones coming from the 1970s decade, even though the 80s music is better. All right, but some of them that didn't make the top 10, however. Moving On from Bad Company will not be on our top 10. Too Hot by Kool and the Gang, which, I mean, it's right on the edge of being a 1980s song, sort of like Pink Floyd. Started in 1979, then became a number 1 in the 80s. Technically, it came out in 79. A Little More Love by Olivia Newton-John, which I like. I'm surprised that didn't even make an honorable. Don't Bring Me Down by ELO. And then I'm not going to mention these others.
So these are all the number 1 songs from those artists that we picked
Correct.
on our list.
Number 1s from those artists did not even make our
number
honorable
1s.
mention. Yes. There's a slew of others that were high up on the charts. I'm not going to mention those. But we have a tie at number 10. So we had those in our decade. So that's why I was confused. I have 2 honorable mentions. You have 4. Okay, the 2 that I thought should have made the list. Crazy Little Thing Called Love by Queen, which was our number 1 Queen song. And The Logical Song by Supertramp was our number 1 for them. and I said that had the best saxophone solo out of any song. So those are why I picked those. Didn't make our list though. Your top honorable mentions: Kashmir, #1 by Led Zeppelin. Was let's see.
The number one we had for Led Zeppelin.
Yeah. So technically, Robert, they weren't the '80s, but Robert Plant was. That's why we went back to them. Highway to Hell from AC/DC. I don't think that was a #1 for them. I Need a Lover by John Cougar Mellencamp, or whatever his name was back then.
John Cougar.
John Cougar. Okay. And I definitely disagree with you there. I don't like that song at all. Is that the one that has the really long?
Yeah, this has all the instruments at the
Yes.
beginning, the drums and that.
The lyrics don't start for 3 minutes. And then Long Time, which has Foreplay, which is similar to I Need a Lover by Boston. That was not our #1 either. We like We're Ready as their #1. All right, so those were your 4. Okay, so 10, we have a 3-way tie. Okay, so first off, a #1 song. My #5, your 26. That's how far difference it is.
We had like 100. How many songs did we have? 50? What did we have?
It was up there. 54 maybe.
All right, there's a lot of songs.
This was our #1 for the artist. By the way, all 3 of these come from 1979, which is odd.
Oh, yeah.
But this would be The Long Run by the Eagles. Yes, because I don't like Hotel California, The Long Run is our best Eagles song. From Billy Joel, Big Shot. I had this at 9, you had it at 22. Yeah, that one only came in at 6 for Billy Joel's list. At #4 for Kenny Loggins, This Is It. I had this at 18, you had it at 13, so neither one put it in the list, but it's still tied with the other.
And I just have to say, I went back and I listened to all the Eagles songs,
Okay.
albums, and I can say they didn't really get good until the album right before Hotel California.
One of these nights, correct. All right, #9, coming from Paul McCartney, not silly love songs, but our #1, Live and Let Die, just because we're James Bond fans, I assume. I had this way out at 23, you had it at 7.
Now there's another thing I listened to. I also listened to Spies Like Us. And that is not a good song at all.
Well, it's nostalgic.
Yeah.
I like it somewhat. I still do. But there is a long version that you can hate. All right, #8, coming from The Who Are You? That was our #2. You had it at 19 and I had it at 8. And the reason it's #2 is because we still think Peter Gabriel's solo, Give Blood, is the best. #7, one I just heard live recently from Foreigner. #2 on our list. I have this at 2, you have it at 25. It's Head Games. As a matter of fact, that was the first song they played on their playlist.
I went back and listened to all those. That was the most recent Foreigner, and I would say they started getting a little better at 4,
Okay.
and then the next
Right.
album, which was
Agent
Provocateur, and then Inside Information. Those are the 2 best albums of theirs.
Those are, because those have the more listenable
Yes.
non-hits, correct. And that one was beat out by...
Provocateur.
Correct. All right, #6, coming from the Bee Gees, and I already told you, Night Fever wasn't our #1, Tragedy was. And I had this at 11, and you had it at 14. But again, probably the best disco song out there, right? Wouldn't you think? If you were to say, rank all disco songs, I think this is probably going to be our #1.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, #5, coming from Heart. Most of the Heart songs on our top 10 was 1980s. Only one was not, and it's this one, Barracuda.
Wow. Besides the hits from the late, they were just before Foreigner that I was listening to, and besides their hits, their other songs sound like they're like so folksy,
Yes, they are.
and they didn't. The album right before their called Heart, Private Auditions, I think it was.
Okay, maybe.
That was where they started.
There's Passion Works.
Oh yeah, Patchworks. That might have been it. Okay, that was where they started sounding good.
Okay.
Probably because other people were writing their songs. I would assume.
This song was your number one for the entire 1970s list I gave you. I put it at 24. But again, the best heart song. Let's see, number 4. This will be the only song. Well, that's not true. The Long Run and this song will be the only 2 artists that also are on our 70s albums lists. And comes from Fleetwood Mac. It's The Chain, which was our number 1 for them. Both of us put this at 10 for the 70s. Number 3, coming from the Doobie Brothers, and this was our number 1 for them. I had this at 3, you had it at 6. China Grove. Still pretty good song. One of those pre-80s, you can tell it's right around the corner.
Yeah,
Good kind of song. Get the acoustic out of here, bring in the electric guitar. All right, number 2, coming at number 1 for this artist. You had this as your second favorite, my 4th favorite from I think they were called Jefferson Starship still at this time.
Probably.
Mickey Thomas's first hit.
Yeah, they weren't Starship until after.
Knee deep in the hoopla.
Yeah.
So this was Mickey Thomas Joins, and the first hit is Jane. Pretty good hit. And likewise, Roll With the Changes sounds similar to this hit. Roll With the Changes by REO Speedwagon is our number 1. It was only 3 on our REO Speedwagon song, top 10. But this was my 1 overall and your number 5.
And again, that's also just like all the other ones where their first 7 albums, only the hits are good.
Wasn't it like 3 or 4 that
3 or 4 didn't even have Kevin Cronin,
so that's why.
He was in there for 1 or 2 albums, and he got fired, and he didn't come back for another album or 2.
So I give it to those groups that knew they needed to get a new singer.
Yeah, they didn't start getting good. High Infidelity or the Good Trouble, I think, is when they started getting really good.
Yeah. So I mean, look at our list of all the ones who knew they needed to get a new lead singer. You know, Starship did, REO Speedwagon did, and Fleetwood Mac did. 3 of our 4. So that's our 1970s list of top 10 from our top 100 artists in the 80s. Whew, it's a lot to say.
Yeah.
And we're going to do a second one, going over
70s
the albums. And then we're going to conquer the
90s.
other side of the decade
90s.
after that. So bear with us, and we'll see you then.
Bye.
Bye.